Welcome back everyone, RacerX here, and today I thought I would put together a quick video for you guys about some plans that I heard that Ford is cooking up and why this may actually have a big impact on the sales of the new Dodge Charger going into next year. It's actually really interesting. Apparently, Ford has been cooking up some plans with their Mustang for a couple of years now. Well, in this recent dealers meeting, apparently they have come up with some models that should be very interesting. So today I will talk about that very thing. If you guys are brand new to the channel, don't forget, hit subscribe. You can find that button right over here. And off we go. Today's video is being sponsored by my friends at Ansel. They sent me this little guy. This is their S650 Pro automotive smoke machine. And you may ask, RacerX, why in the world would I want a smoke machine for my car? Well, this dude is actually used to detect leaks in your fuel system, also in your intake exhaust system and your evap system. The S650 Pro is an all-in-one leak detecting system, meaning it has both a compressor and a smoke machine in one, and it comes with a multitude of accessories. You can see the smoke hose right here. You've got block caps for engines that are not installed. It connects directly to your car's battery, which is kind of nice and convenient. You do have an adapter cone here. You also have an intake bladder right here with a replacement. You even have a little hook so you can hang the machine right there on your hood. You can see I've got baby oil right here. The system does not come with that. You would have to get either that or mineral oil, but you can see the little provided funnel. It actually goes right into the top of the machine. So it's a very easy machine to use, plus a handy dandy instruction manual. So we'll just take our oil and fill it up with the funnel right there. You've got a max and a min line, making it really easy. As you can see, I have the machine connected directly to the vehicle's battery. All I had to do was push this button right there, and we have non-toxic smoke coming right out. Not only does it have a built-in air pump, but you can adjust the flow right here, and it's got this handy dandy pressure gauge, which is nice. Now I'm actually testing my vehicle's intake system right now. I could have gone ahead and put the cone in right here, but all I had to do was loosen this. I went ahead and put the bladder in right here, and you can see the smoke machine pumping smoke directly into the vehicle, and no leaks as far as I can tell. It's a really cool system. There are a multitude of other ways you can actually test your car. I just showed you one of the ways, but it's all right there in the manual. Ansel is really well known for their compact all-in-one solutions, and this is absolutely no exception. If you want to buy one of these amazing smoke machines, I will pin a link in the comments down below, and on we go with the video. So I actually read something back in May about the fact that Ford was toying with the idea of going to a four-door Mustang. Well, apparently this recent dealers meeting, they actually teased a four-door Mustang. They also teased an off-road Mustang, which I thought was really interesting. But I think about what a four-door Mustang would do for the market, because Dodge is actually kind of abandoning this segment. And supposedly, Ford has actually been toying with the idea of a four-door Mustang for a couple of years now. Kind of the first thing I heard about it back in May. Well, now it's starting to look like this may actually be a thing. And I think that's actually kind of exciting in a weird way. I know that like when the Charger initially was out there, it was a two-door, then they went to a four-door, and a lot of people were really up in arms about them going to a four-door Charger. Yet, the Charger actually outsold the Challenger. If you look at the sales numbers for Dodge, they did better with the Charger than even the Challenger, which is like, you know, the consummate muscle car of old. And even though it was redesigned, I mean, they just kept making them and making them. People just kept buying them and buying them. But you can do a little bit more with a Charger because it is four doors. Yes, it is longer, but they put all sorts of great power plants in those cars. Well, now Dodge abandoning this segment, Ford, it looks like, wants to jump in there and maybe capitalize on that. Yes, they have the new Charger Daytona EV coming out. A lot of people are not excited about these new EVs. Believe me, I can see it all over the comments section. Everybody's hating on that car. And yes, they have the six-pack variant coming out next year, which I'm pretty excited about. They will have both a two-door and a four-door, as we've talked about at length. But the two-door is the only one getting the high output Hurricane with 550 horsepower, which I think that's going to be a great little car. But if you want the four-door version, they give you the more watered-down, like 420 horsepower Hurricane, the standard output Hurricane, and the high output is not an option. Well, imagine a four-door Ford Mustang with a rumbly V8, like 485 horsepower, that you can even get in a manual. That is what Ford is actually considering doing, and I think that would really change the game, not only for Ford, but it would have a really big impact on the sales of the new Charger. Now, there have actually been some renderings done of what this four-door S650 Mustang would look like. I'll actually put some up on the screen here for you so you guys can kind of see what it might look like. And it does look pretty intriguing. I know some people will look at that and say, oh, look, that thing is ugly, no way. And other people look, you know what, I could kind of get with that because it is kind of sleek, it is kind of angular, but you do get the four doors, so it's a little bit more of a utilitarian type vehicle, if you will, maybe slightly more practical. But think about being able to get that car in a 8-cylinder, right, where you cannot get that from Dodge. And really, when it comes to sedans in general, right, I mean, once you add a second set of doors on it, it is officially a sedan and not a coupe. And the fact that you could actually get that car in a V8 manual, that is really interesting, because I have maintained at length that the coolest four-door manual on the market right now is actually from Cadillac in the CT5V Blackwing, which is a fantastic car. I love that car, but it is really, really expensive. So if you could get, say, a four-door Mustang with a V8 well-equipped for even in like the mid to low 50s, that's like a huge win. I mean, everybody's abandoning the sedan segment and going to these small SUVs. Well, this is going to open up like a whole nother option for people to buy. If you still want a V8, you want a sedan, I mean, they're just few and far between. So would you actually look at a Mustang if it had four doors? That's the question. Now, I have touched on this in other videos, but I feel like this is a great opportunity to sort of touch on this again, because apparently there are a lot of people that are still really, really confused about why Dodge went away from the Hemi V8s. And that's obviously their bread and butter, right? It's what put them on the map, is that tire shredding fun brand that did all the marketing and just in your face. I mean, everything that people love about Dodge, obviously a lot of it had to do with the V8 Hemi, whether it's supercharged or not. So many people, you've heard Tim Kuniskis talk about over 1 billion horsepower they put out there on the road, and now all of a sudden they're going away from it, and that makes no sense. And a lot of people sort of blame, you know, Tim Kuniskis and everything. He's the guy that gave us all that horsepower. Believe me, he's not the one that wanted to go away from what made that company so successful. A lot of it had to do with just the rules changing. And I've explained this so many times and people still just aren't getting it. But a V8 Hemi, a hemispherical head, if you understand anything about the Hemi, is not a smog efficient design at all. And back in the day, they didn't really pay much attention at all to smog and the smog index. And at one point, those Hemis, say the 6.4 Hemi, was like a 3 on the smog index. And they could get away with that, even though they were paying billions of dollars to direct competitors like Tesla to buy up their credits. It just got to the point where it wasn't sustainable anymore. I mean, the 5.7 Hemi used to be like a 5 on the smog index. Well, guess what? The government changed the rules. And the Hemi actually really isn't even a hemispherical head anymore. They had to make changes to the initial Hemi just to make it more efficient. And even that design basically became so inefficient by the new standards that they couldn't continue down that path. And that was really the big argument with people is, well, how in the world can Chevy do it? How in the world can Ford continue to put out V8s? That's the argument you always hear. Well, there's a couple things at play there, right? If you look at the new Coyote, it's twin intake. And a lot of people think they did that for power. That's not really why they did the twin intake. Yes, it makes slightly more power, but it makes the engine a lot more fuel efficient, and it is much better on the smog index. That new Coyote is like a 5, even on the new smog index. The same with a lot of the GM motors. I mean, they did a lot of redesigning to those, but keep in mind, those are still American-owned companies, right? GM and Ford. When you talk about Stellantis, which is a French company, right? They have all those other companies that are European by nature under that Stellantis umbrella. Believe me, Dodge, if you think they didn't go to the drawing board and try and do a revised V8, it probably would not have been a Hemi, because as I talked about, a Hemi design is not smog efficient, and they have to be more efficient with these engines. But if you think they didn't go to the drawing board and try and redesign a V8, I think you'd be wrong. This is just an educated guess, so to speak, right? But I do believe that they went and tried to do another redesigned 8-cylinder. That doesn't mean it won't come later, say if the administration changes and the rules change. I'm not a political channel. I've talked about it at length. But if the rules change, that's going to open up the playbook for them, and maybe they can. But they still have to get it past Stellantis. And as I've said at length, I'm not entirely sure that Stellantis really understands the American consumer and why we like our V8s. Over in Europe, they're just not as big a thing. They have smaller streets. It's just different infrastructure. There's so many differences between the European consumer and the American consumer. And that is really, part of the big problem. So no matter how bad the Dodge executives want to go back to a redesigned 8-cylinder and give us that, they still have to get it past the board at Stellantis. Good luck with that. And how do you convince those guys that that's what the American consumer wants, right? So I do feel like this change for Ford, if they go to a 4-door Mustang, could be a big game changer in terms of the sales for the new Charger. I know that Dodge is really banking on sales for the new Charger. Based on everything I've heard from executives, they feel like the 6-pack car is going to be the big car for them. They know that the EVs are going to be kind of a tough sell for a lot of people, but a lot of people could kind of get on board with the 6-pack. I am part of that crew as well, right? I'm not excited about the EVs, but I feel like the 6-pack car could be a heck of a lot of fun in the 2-door, but yeah, I could probably go drive a 4-door Mustang if it had the rumbly, Coyote V8 in it, especially in a manual. I think that actually sounds really cool. I could be on board with that. So Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford, has already come out and said, listen, if we do the 4-door Mustang, it will not be electric, and I think that excited a lot of people. So it's either going to get kind of like an EcoBoost, perhaps like an entry-level type engine, and then of course you're going to jump up to the Coyotes, and maybe at some point they will give us that GT500 4-door, which would really be a weird thing. Who knows? But I would hazard to guess if they do the 4-door Mustang, and in my mind, because Dodge is kind of abandoning that segment to a degree, V8 sedan, they may just go ahead and do it. I really feel like that is a really distinct possibility, and I feel like they'll actually do pretty well with a 4-door Mustang. What do you guys think? I mean, would you buy a 4-door Mustang? Would you go drive one just to see what it's like? Because yeah, a lot of people still want that V8 rumble. I think it is really interesting, and if they did it, I really feel like they would somehow manage to time it in such a way that it came out right around the same time as the 6-pack Charger. Imagine that. So anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on this. Like I said, right now it's all speculation, but I feel like it definitely is in the playbook for Ford to come out with this 4-door. Love to hear your thoughts on it. Let me know in the comments, and I'll catch you on the next one. So until then, RacerX.